What does the Red Bull brand make you think of? A drink, extreme sports, a Formula One team, or maybe 100 other activities? When we think of Red Bull, we often focus only on what's most visible, like the energy drink. However, in reality, Red Bull is a giant media and sports company with over 17,000 employees. So, instead of talking about obvious, today you'll learn why Red Bull invests so much in sports, why it hardly advertises its flagship product, and most importantly, how it really makes money. But before we dive into the topic, let me tell you how it all started in a few sentences. The founder of Red Bull, Dietrich Mateschitz, discovered the drink during a trip to Thailand. He liked its taste and energizing properties so much that he brought the drink to Europe and invested $500,000 in the company's development. After a slight taste adjustment, Red Bull was launched in Austria in 1987. At first, it had an aura of exclusivity and mystery because it was banned in Germany due to its taurine content. This problem, however, turned out to be an extremely effective marketing lever, leading to the sale of over 1 million cans in just 1 year after its European debut. Red Bull's marketing beginnings were quite modest, though not as modest as commonly believed. Yes, the company started by hiring students to share free samples with friends. Still, just a year after the brand's debut, Red Bull sponsored its first extreme event. It hired its first brand ambassador 2 years later, F1 driver Gerhard Berger. So it's not entirely true that the company's success is due to so-called guerrilla marketing or low-budget activities. Almost from the start, Red Bull had enough resources to invest in much more expansive marketing. To this day, the company continues to use all marketing tactics, expanding its reach every year, with the new sports competitors, brand ambassadors, and crazy events. Red Bull is like a YouTuber on steroids. It creates huge amounts of content and events funded by its product, the energy drink. These activities drive drink sales, finance more events, and make a cycle. To win the hearts of millions of young adults, Red Bull knows it has to operate broadly. Extreme sports were a great start because they are, well, extreme. However, even such an attractive niche won't make the company a global leader in its category. That's why Red Bull has invested its own sports clubs for 20 years and almost creates new athletes who can spread their wings with the giant's sponsorship. Lending a helping hand to little-known athletes is a recipe for quickly gaining fan loyalty. Meanwhile, investments in a Formula One team or a football club allow the brand to firmly embed itself in the consciousness of millions, while also bringing in some pure profit, instead of just expenses. Red Bull wants to be associated with overcoming personal weaknesses to achieve success in sports and life. However, it's far from Apple's compactness or Google's gentle clumsiness. Besides serious events, it also creates events full of unstrained fun, meant to provide pure entertainment for both fans and participants. No matter if enjoying life means a party with friends, a parachute jump, or building a paper airplane, Red Bull wants to be present in your mind. Red Bull sponsors hundreds of athletes in over 100 disciplines, but doesn't ignore less media-friendly activities. The company has created a sports photography competition, organizes dance battles, invented a huge charity run, sponsors esports tournaments, and much more. Besides its own events, Red Bull is equally eager to engage in the biggest music and sports events. The company has remained under the same ownership since its inception, allowing great creativity in marketing content creation. Publicly traded companies focus on pleasing shareholders. Meanwhile, Red Bull prioritizes providing good fun and supporting athletes and artists. It turns out that combining pure commerce, a hefty dose of niche appeal, and activities usually reserved for YouTubers brings tangible profits. According to its website, Red Bull's revenue in 2023 was 9% higher than in 2022. setting a new record in the company's history at over 10 billion euros. Unlike many companies, Red Bull understands that loyalty wins customers' hearts. Promotions or new flavors work, but only for a short time. That's why Red Bull focuses on promoting people, not the drink. This approach quickly learns loyalty and sympathy, especially among the most important target group for the brand, young adults. Red Bull hardly needs to mention that it produces an energy drink, because the fans remind others of it. How? Well, just look at the comments under any Red Bull video. Moreover, focusing on building the brand's world allows for virtually unlimited reach expansion. By buying and creating new teams, Red Bull goes beyond its own media bubble, creating unique fan loyalty, often passed down through generations. In the long run, such an investment can be extremely lucrative. Not only fans of a specific hockey, football, F1 or esports team buy Red Bull cans, but they will also likely purchase all kinds of merch like shirts. Red Bull actively participates in building the history of many sports, creating a sense that the brand's presence is obvious and natural. Instead of aggressive advertising that forces its way into customers' minds, the Austrian company approaches the topic methodically, with great patience and finesse. Red Bull is a private company, meaning it doesn't have to inform anyone about how it makes money and how much it earns. Thus, all information available online, like the company allergy spending 30% of its revenue on marketing or the production costs only 9 cents per can, are just rumors. The fact is, Red Bull earns mainly from selling energy drinks. In 2023, this amounted to over 12 billion cans. Besides energy drinks, the company also invested in a line of classic cola and fruit drinks. However, this move seems more about image than business. One fairly verified information about Red Bull's finances is the company's profits in the Formula One sector. In 2022, it made a net profit of 15 million euros, with a revenue of 46 million. This isn't a huge amount, but it shows that Red Bull spends its earned millions wisely. Brands like Oracle, Honda, Visa, and Zoom also invest in the Red Bull racing team, providing other source of revenue. Other brand investments have also likely started to yield profits. The football and hockey team, acquired or created by Red Bull, have won numerous prestigious league competitions. For instance, RB Leipzig reached the Champions League semi-finals in 2020, despite playing in Germany's 5th division in 2010. These successes brought nearly 500 million euros in revenue in 2023. Besides Red Bull, the team is sponsored by brands like Puma, Nike, and Volkswagen. Red Bull is always the main sponsor of the sporting events it organizes. It is also open to sponsorship deals, likely financing a significant portion of the expenses. For years, the company has collaborated with GoPro. Although such information isn't public, it's hard to imagine that brand settling only in barter. Red Bull is a marathoner, constantly outpacing sprinters when they get winded. It constantly uses the same strategy, not changing it at all, ever. The same logo, the same slogan, despite a 13 million lawsuit. The same ads and the same events have been the company's identity for nearly 40 years and still attract millions of potential customers. Instead of promoting the product, Red Bull promotes the brand. This way it operates long-term. Even if competitors develop new, unique energy drink flavors and cut their prices significantly compared to Red Bull, the brand's strength will still attract enough customers to make billions. Red Bull is available in just 7 flavors, excluding sugar-free options. The original Red Bull is highly recognizable, while it's hard to identify the original monster at first glance. The company sells its product mainly in small cans, while competitors offer half a liter for a similar price. Red Bull is not just a brand, it's the emotions tied to specific sports and life events. Red Bull never forces purchases. It believes that the brand strength alone will push customers to buy when they see the distinctive can in the store or feel they need a bit more energy. Red Bull allows itself to be unserious, which is rare in large companies. It invests in professional sports events, but just as often can't resist carefree fun. Moreover, it does this in a very authentic and natural way. Even the tastiest and cheapest drink in the world can't match a strong brand, because nowadays emotions buy products, not logic or wallet size. What do you think is Red Bull's most influential action for their success? Events, extreme sports, or maybe great use of social media? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your opinion. And in the next video we will learn about Deadpool's totally crazy marketing. It's going to be a wild ride. See you next time. Bye!